Good Saturday morning. This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing. Looking right off at our significant impacts, we have none. Continued cool, moist conditions across the Great Basin today, especially over eastern areas where showers will linger. However, we have clearing skies and there will be a gradual warming trend with increasing sunshine as high pressure builds in starting tomorrow, but especially into most of next week. Looking at precipitation in the past 24 hours, most of it concentrated into northern Utah and southern Idaho. The dark blues are about a ½ inch to an inch of rain. Anything in the green, 1 to 2 inches, in some cases between 2 and 4 inches of additional rainfall. This is just in the past 24 hours, though. And the lightning, we did have some out here in eastern areas, but of course it was under very wet conditions. Great Basin fire activity, nothing really on the new side. Existing fires in the yellow, prescribed fires. It's that season again in the purple. Observed precipitation. Now we go into the past 7 days and we see this area of green, which is a ½ inch or more, covering most of the northern and eastern third to half of Nevada, just about all of Idaho, Wyoming, most of Utah, except maybe some portions in the southwest desert areas into the Arizona Strip. For a lot of these areas in the green, especially the darker green, this was definitely a season-ending event, being this late in September. We look at precipitation over the past 30 days. You can see some of these areas that maybe didn't get as much in the past 7 days down here in southwest Utah did get wet sometime in the past 2 to 4 weeks. The only areas that we see here in western Nevada that did stay mainly dry will be areas we'll have to continue to watch as we get into a warming trend later this week. Our ERCs, you can see how they've taken a nosedive, mostly in the green. If you look closely at the arrows, they're pointing downwards, which means they're still trending downwards. Even out here where areas were near the 90th percentile, we're seeing a lot of yellows, which are between the 50th and 70th, and just maybe 1 or 2 stations barely hanging on. Looking at our satellite imagery and upper level map superimposed, you see deep low pressure now exiting the Great Basin, pushing into Wyoming. It's taken about 3.5 days for it to cross the Great Basin with wetting rains and in many cases season-ending rains and mountain snows across many areas, especially the eastern half of Nevada through Utah and Idaho and into Wyoming, but still spinning back some moisture into some of our eastern areas of Idaho, western Wyoming, and eastern portions of Utah. A look at our radar shot at about 8:30 this morning. You can see that most of the precipitation has moved out into Wyoming. We just have a bit more wrapping around into the Salt Lake City area in the Wasatch. However, the back edge now is pushing towards the Salt Lake Valley, and I think probably by mid to late morning most of this should clear on out. We're seeing clearing skies already pushing across Idaho and most of Nevada. So this morning should be the last of any precipitation and some mountain snows in some of the highest terrain above about 7,500 feet. So here's our main weather map on the left-hand side. You see the trough of low pressure by late this afternoon pushes out of Wyoming into the Dakotas. The area in green is the solid gray cloudy mass. So our eastern areas by this afternoon should be clearing out. Northerly winds, drier air on the western edges of the Great Basin as strong Pacific high pressure with midsummer strength moves into California with near record heat and starts pushing into western Nevada as well. On the right-hand side, you can see our areas mostly in the green, except for our far western areas, which have modified quite a bit, but mostly with higher humidity and cooler temperatures. We do have high risk for winds, offshore winds down in southern California. Looking down the road as we go into weather conditions for today. On the left-hand side, you see the relative humidity very high in the green here, above 30%. In some cases, only staying near 50 to 70%, but it's on the left-hand side, western Nevada, somewhere in the mid-teens. And on the right-hand side, you see that the winds fairly light in most areas, but inconsequential since we are mostly moist in just about all of our areas. And for Sunday, that high pressure strongly builds in. You see that tannish area of low humidity start overspreading much of the region. Lots of sunshine going on. Maybe some good inversions in the morning with a cooler, more moist surface conditions. Inconsequential on the right-hand side for our fire potential. Taking a big hit, we're going to need probably 2 to 3 weeks of this kind of weather to really make a difference, which is not what you usually get this time of year. but we do continue to dry out and starting to see some humidities near 10% or lower across southwestern Nevada. Some breezes, mostly coming out of the north and northeast across our southern areas, but again, no major concerns because of our fuels. And then on Monday, high pressure overhead, we are going to see a rapid warm up, probably temperatures getting back up to about maybe 10, 15, maybe even 20 degrees above normal. A few more browns now starting to pop up in southern Nevada and in western Nevada, but most of our other areas that had precipitation, mostly of the season ending type, will stay in minimal fire potential. And as we go into Monday's weather, still humidity in the teens in the west, but still in Utah and Idaho, 20 to 30% humidity, winds overall fairly light. Looking at precipitation next 3 days, most of this will be in the next 12 or 6 or 12 hours, and just some wraparound moisture across the Wasatch and the Uintas, maybe just another tenth to a quarter of an inch before things move out. And then looking further down the road on Tuesday, high pressure pushing to our east, but we're still under its ridge, still well above normal. You can see where we're mostly moist and where we start to dry out in some of our western areas that border California. And then we go into Wednesday. We do see some moisture starting to creep up into southern Utah and southern Nevada. I have to watch this a little bit more carefully. This is a new model development. If this does happen, we may see some light showers pushing back into our southern areas. And then a trough of low pressure coming in from the north. And then as we go into Thursday, that trough of low pressure deepens. Winds start increasing a little bit. We see less of that tannish color. And then by Friday, we'll probably see some increasing west-southwest winds across Nevada, which are fairly dry. Other areas, this green band through Idaho and northern Nevada and far northern Utah may give more showers. So fire potential in our eastern area stays low. Precipitation. The new stuff that will be coming through will be towards the latter part of the period up here in central Idaho, maybe a couple of hundredths to maybe a tenth or quarter of an inch. But it is beyond that. We look at our long-range outlook. We see a much cooler than normal signal for the first week of October. Also more moist than normal for many areas except, again, western Nevada still hanging on. So overall, no significant issues. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.